Mama never told me lies, she kept it real with me, real with me. Coming up without a man in the house, she had to deal with me, deal with me. Work hard to keep me fed with my father in the wind. You protected me with structure, and this world is full of sin. Know that you will ride for me all the way down to the end. More than just a good mother, sometimes you're my only friend. Always did the best that you could, and your sister understood. Do what's best for me and my cousins, so we all moved out the hood. Uncle was always around, but my daddy wasn't down. When I threw a temper tantrum, you would drag me to the ground. Through the years that I grew up, you always told me to be tough. When life's throwing you a challenge, stand your ground and don't give up. Always go for number one, don't settle for the runner up. That's why I stay up on top, leave them haters under us. Always put me in my place when I try to run them up. Through my teenage years, every day we had to fuss. And I'm hanging with my peers, smoking weed and getting bucked. But you always still forgive me when I put you through that stuff. Mama never told me lies, she kept it real with me, real with me. Coming up without a man in the house, she had to deal with me, deal with me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You guys are in for a treat tonight. Yes, this is Storytime with Mama Cousins. Little something different we trying on the channel, but you actually get to hear it from the source, my mama herself. So yes, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a great show. And here she is, ladies and gentlemen. First time to the world, Mama Cousins. How you doing, Mom? What's up with you?
Hi, how are you? How is everyone out there tonight?
I think everybody's doing well. This is a pre-recorded show,
Okay.
but I'm sure people will be, people will be watching. We'll upload it and we'll do a live, not a live chat, but it will be a chat when it premieres and stuff like that. So yeah, you can say hi to everybody, of course, absolutely. But how are you feeling tonight? How do you feel doing your first, your first time on YouTube?
Nervous. Completely. Absolutely nervous.
There's nothing to be nervous about. I mean, pretty much it's this. What I wanted to do this for, Mom, is I wanted to give everybody a snapshot into what my life is with you. I mean, we have conversations about pop culture all the time. People think that, I just, I'm brother cousins and it's just me and second brother. And we just know this has been a family affair. We've been like, y'all don't know. My mom is a fangirl. She's taken pictures and been at cons and met, you name it. She's met all tons of celebrities, from Rupert Friend to John Berthal, her boyfriend, to it's several celebrities, and they've always been into like movies and stuff like that. So you just want to tell you a little bit about yourself, and and like what some of your favorite movies and stuff are.
Well, basically, I've always been sort of a sci-fi and a horror film fan.
That's right. Yeah, that is
Those have
right.
been my things I've always loved from a kid, and I even still like those movies.
That's right. What are some of your favorite horror movies?
The number one, which will be and will always be my favorite, even though it frightened me beyond belief. And that's The Exorcist.
And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We meant to do this stream like, right in time for Halloween, but with schedules and everything, we couldn't do it. I couldn't afford my own mama to be on the stream. So I had to save up my money to get her to do the stream. You know how it is. Mom was like, "Hey, I need that bag before I do it, son." So that's how it was. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we're definitely gonna be talking about it tonight. But yeah, The Exorcist, that's definitely a real scary one. But also like the funny thing is about this, people don't know you actually saw them make it. You weren't only there and saw the premiere of the film when it premiered all the way in. What year was that? 1973? When is that when it premiered?
Yeah, when I was just a little girl.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's
Very, very young.
that is amazing.
And highly impressionable.
I can imagine. Georgetown is. Georgetown is a historical older storefront here in the Washington D.C. area. All the celebrities have come through there of the year. If you ever come into D.C., you know about Georgetown. If you're familiar with D.C., you know about it. It's a real historic, affluent area. But take us to 1970s, early 70s Georgetown. How was it? What was the vibe like?
It was incredible.
Mm.
The Georgetown students dominated the entire area, the school kids.
Wow.
But we had people come from Europe, people from everywhere to visit Georgetown. It was I can't begin to explain to you what it was like compared to how we're living now. It was open, it was free. People cared about one another, and it sort of had a community about itself, by itself, a little city within a city. Georgetown was incredible. And I pretty much started working there as a very, very young kid and stayed there for almost 20 something years.
Wow.
And watched it as it grew and as it went to many, many changes. But the most incredible thing about Georgetown, it was a well-kept secret from a lot of the people who grew up in Washington. It has its own culture, its own way of seeing things. And during my time being a young person and a young Black girl, there wasn't many. There were a lot of people of color in Georgetown, but they mostly were maids and butlers and servants.
Oh, wow.
I came up there as working in a lovely, high quality beauty and fashion and lingerie salon.
Oh, wow. Nice.
That's what my job, to dress the important people who came through Georgetown. And I met a lot of senators' wives. I met a lot of movie stars. I saw a lot of movies being made. Even St. Elmo's Fire was made there.
That's right.
I had to relocate my car and move it down to the hotels at the bottom of Wisconsin and M Street, just so they could shoot a scene with Rob Lowe in St. Elmo's Fire.
That is amazing. That is cool.
It was amazing. And I had the most wonderful time growing up there because it was work, but most of the time it was a lot of play.
Exactly. Yeah. Nice balance there. Worth, play, but lifestyle. And that is cool. That is so interesting to, see that. Because, when, a lot of kids, go through Georgetown or Georgetown University students and everything now, you can still see it still kind of has that inner circle kind of culture. It's like you kind of got to know somebody to really know somebody, but people go up there. I'm not saying you can go up there and shop, but still to like work in the shops, it's a culture amongst itself. It still kind of has that to this day. But in the 70s, back then it really was like that. You really had to know somebody.
Pretty innocent.
Yeah.
People back in the 70s, everything was radical because there came the movement from the Vietnam War. It came so many different things. The college kids were and women's whole lifestyle changed.
Wow.
We began to speak out and people started to listen during that time. So I grew up during the women's movement.
That's amazing.
And a lot of things were going on in Georgetown. I mean, it was an incredible place to be. And it still is.
Absolutely. But that's amazing. That's amazing. Just you telling that, just taking, it takes me back there. And, and growing up there. And I mean, the funny thing is, I practically was born there.
About 4 blocks from there.
About 4 blocks from there, Columbia. What was it? Columbia
Hospital for Women.
That's right.
Which Avenue. Yes.
Which that closed down about 10 years ago, I want to say.
Recently.
Yeah, it was fairly recent. About 10 years ago, it closed down. But I was practically born there, and that's like a couple blocks away from it. And then even being there in the 80s as a little kid, I could feel he was a little kid. I mean, what did I know at that time? But it still had an energy. I still remember it had an energy. It had a feeling.
Well, Jay, as a kid, you and second brother both know my twin and we took you guys everywhere.
That's right. Oh,
Y'all been knowing about pop culture since y'all been babies.
exactly.
You couldn't go, we didn't go.
Exactly.
We didn't go.
Exactly.
We took you guys and educated you guys through all kinds of music, museums, and plays. You all have been given culture. Even though you were little guys, you grew up with it.
Exactly. Like some people, and it's funny because I tell people, I'm like, yeah, they like, so what was the first concert you ever went to? They think, oh, it was a G Unit, or did you see this person? They think it's some rap show. I'm like, nah, the first concert I ever went to was the Bee Gees.
Absolutely. That's right.
And they're my mom and I, both of y'all were like big Bee Gees fans, still big Bee Gees fans, to this day.
Absolutely. Yes.
No.
How could we not be Bee Gees fans when we were very into the Beatles? You got to remember.
There you go. And we're gonna be talking about that too, because and that's the thing. I wanted to do this stream. I wanted to do this show just to, show the connective tissue of the experiences from yesteryear and how they connect to today. Like, and we'll talk about it. Like, like I showed you the Beatles, what they quote unquote the last Beatles song. And and just seeing, and for you to see that last Beatles song, and you actually saw, the beginning of the Beatles, which we're not going to talk about that. We're going to save that. Yes. We're going to say, because that's a whole nother show. But, I just want to show the connective tissue of, time. Like, times change, but people don't, and it's funny that me and Second Brother are all into this pop culture stuff. But really, it started with you and your sister. It started with y'all. Being into the Beatles, to being into the Bee Gees, to being into Stephen King, and reading Stephen. That's another show. We talk about Stephen King, and then us in the 80s reading comic books and the correlation between that, and it's, so it starts with you guys, you ladies. But no, let's go back. Let's trail back a little bit and talk about just given the culture of Georgetown. Now let's take us back to you working. Where exactly were you working at, if you could say it? Where you were working at that time, when they were actually filming The Exorcist, and just your experience of seeing them film it.
The company I worked for, like I said, it had a lovely boutique on Wisconsin Avenue, and it had one in Roslyn, Virginia. At that time, Roslyn was underdeveloped.
Yes.
So I would walk from across the bridge to Roslyn, back over the bridge into Georgetown.
Okay.
And at the corner of Wisconsin, just before you got to the very bottom of the hill at Wisconsin and M, I can't remember the name of the street. I don't know what, I can't remember, but it was just about maybe a block up from M Street, where the house was located, where the priest took that dive from the window in the movie.
Oh, wow.
So I knew they were filming. Matter of fact, then they filmed many films in Georgetown. They made quite a few movies in Georgetown. I met Tom Hanks. I have met so many superstars and movie stars in Georgetown. Yes.
I did not know you met. I didn't know you met.
No, I met Tom Hanks.
No, I did not know that. I did not know that. That is awesome.
I met so many of them. Back then, it was Sonny and Cher were big. I met them.
Wow.
Red Fox, I met him. Yep. I mean, so many people. Some movie stars were really old stars where younger people wouldn't recognize who they are. But I recognized them because my mom and dad were movie fans.
Gotcha.
So I met a lot of the older stars like Burt Lancaster and people like that. And Charlton Heston, people like that. It was just a place that you could walk into anybody who was famous and not even know who they were unless you were into movies or into some kind of pop culture or artists. It was just great.
That's awesome. And it's still, well, even when, because a lot of people probably don't know on the stream, but I used to work at a club and follow into my mom's footsteps. I used to work in this club named Blues Alley. Which we'll probably also be talking about that on this stream as well at some point. But I used to work there. I actually worked there up from 2009 up until the pandemic. Pandemic is when everything kind of like changed. I know I'm not supposed to say that on the P word on YouTube, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, World Health Crisis kind of shut everything down, and I haven't worked there since. But I was in Georgetown for a good number of years at that point. I was in there for like 10 years, and I remember I've seen a lot of just walking through the alleys of Georgetown. You'll run into. I remember my first couple of days being at Blues Alley, ran into Morpheus himself, Lawrence
Right,
Fishburne. I was like,
right,
"What's up, man? What are you doing?" He's
right,
like, "Oh, I'm just here for a play." I remember
right.
running into, dare I say it, R. Kelly up there.
Jennifer
Yeah,
Love Hewitt.
Jennifer Love. Oh my God. Jennifer Love Hewitt. Yes, I
Yes,
ran into
yes.
her up there as well. So you would see Candyman himself.
Mhm.
Yeah, his name escapes me. How I can't help me out, Mom. What is his name? Gotta play Candyman. Oh my God, why I can't remember it right now.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Todd. Tony Todd.
Right, yeah,
Of course, Tony Todd and Venom. You know, he's playing that right now, famous in the Spider-Man 2 video game, which that game is awesome. But yeah, you run into a lot of celebrities there,
yeah,
even up until those days.
yeah.
But going back to the Exorcist, so you're saying pretty much you saw him, the
I
stunt
saw them
guy.
filming it, and the priest when he took the dive out of the window,
Wow.
how it was staged, and how many times he actually did that. He did that quite a few times,
Damn.
more than once.
Wow. And I remember hearing that. He had
Man,
to,
I should say, did
right.
that more than once.
Right, because I remember in a documentary, he said he had to numb himself up to keep doing it.
Right, he went into. I think they call it something that, like the Asians do. They go into like a Zen mode,
Like a
where
tantric, I forget what it's called. Yeah,
not what it's
yeah,
called, but
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
he braced himself for that
Right.
psychologically. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but he did it a couple of times
Wow.
to get it
That
right.
is that is amazing.
But at
So
the time, it was scary because they kept announcing it, but not telling you anything that what was going to happen.
right.
They just talked about it, and they did a great promo by showing the priest standing in front of that house, getting out of the cab.
Right. That and
And
being a
he's looking at the house, but you don't know what's going on in that house. It was just
right.
an incredible time. It was mostly about mystery and imagination, which we don't have anymore. But
Very,
when
very
we
true.
finally found out, it was phenomenal how
It was
scary it was. Because Georgetown in the fall is used to be called Foggy Bottom.
right.
It gets very dark and very foggy. So that automatically in itself is kind of scary.
It's kind of scary.
Right.
Exactly. I just
Right.
want to bring this up real quick. Yeah, we just talk about like just being a graphic
That's the
designer.
scene.
That right there is just a great piece of graphic art right there. I love movie posters. So seeing this right here, you don't know, seeing this and
Right.
them talking about this and you seeing them actually make the movie and
Yes.
then seeing this poster, and y'all really had no idea what was coming.
No,
Especially in 1970, 73,
no. And I had my first apartment living alone.
Oh my gosh. So tell me, so tell me a little bit about that. Like, so you went to go see it.
Yes.
You went to go see it. So you're in like your early 20s.
Yeah.
Your twin sister.
With my older sister.
Oh, so you and your older sister went to go see it.
Yes. Because my twin, Monica, was too afraid. She had a small kid at the time.
Which
and all
was
we heard
which
my
was
twin sister.
which
yes.
was second brother.
Second brother. Yes. And all we heard was about a child. So she
Right.
wouldn't go see it.
Gotcha. So she was out. So you and your older sister went to go see it.
Yes.
Wow. And when y'all went to go see it now here it is, guys. Now remember, see, we're all kind of desensitized. You got video games with first person, you got games like Mortal Kombat when you're ripping people's like vertebrae out and all types of crazy.
You gotta understand, we were very innocent.
That's what I'm
We
saying.
were
Like,
very innocent. The scariest thing we ever seen was probably something like on late night movie, Frankenstein.
right.
That's about it. Old movies like that, that's all we ever saw.
So when you
We
seeing
never
this
saw anything like that
so
before.
when you seeing this little girl claiming that she's the devil, spitting out pea soup and doing spider walks, and saying some of them. I mean, saying things I won't even repeat. As bad as as dirty as my mom knows I have a dirty mouth, but as bad as my mouth is, and I cuss like a sailor, but I won't repeat lines of that movie just because it's just like wow, especially the whole crucifix scene and what she was doing with it's just like out there. So let me know. So how did you and your sister feel about that, especially coming from kind of like a religious home? How did you guys feel about that, seeing all that?
Well, frankly speaking, my apartment was on K Street, not too far from Georgetown.
Right.
And that was the first time I'd ever been away from home and living alone and being a female and having my own place downtown.
Right.
How did I feel? I was terrified. My sister begged me to come home with her that night because she knew she was upset. The people were upset. People were hysterical after they saw that movie.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, which you all cannot understand, is how peaceful it was. How people were so easygoing.
Yeah.
People never even thought of anything like that possibly happening. And then plus it was based on a true story.
Right. That makes it even more terrifying. That is like this could happen. And then you're like, wait a minute. I'm sure that had a lot of people that may have been non-believers running to the church after that.
It was a lot of people had a lot of problems with that movie.
Of course. Lot. I can imagine. Yeah, I remember seeing I think we saw the documentary together years ago where they was talking about like people were like vomiting in the theater. Yeah, they were just passing out. Some people couldn't handle it. They just could not handle it.
No, they couldn't.
Wow. So how did you and your sister handle it? Like, I mean, I know y'all was scared, but then y'all had to be like, oh my God, what was that?
She went to her, you gotta remember my sister was 13 years older than I was.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's a full grown-up woman. I was just a young woman playing at being a woman.
Right.
I was young, very young.
But you were staying by yourself. You were staying in.
I lived alone. Yeah.
Wow.
She asked me to come home with her, but I was too proud to let anybody know that I was actually that afraid. But when I got home, that was the worst night of my life. I cut every light on in my little apartment. I hid under my bed practically. I was totally terrified. And even today, being an older woman and being a grown-up, I'm still trying to figure out where did I get that nerve?
I'm trying to figure out where that came from. Look, let me tell you something. You heard of us, the video game. I know if you haven't played the video game, you've seen the movies. Resident Evil, right? You remember those games, right?
Oh, I've seen some of the movies. Yeah.
Yeah. So when the first Resident Evil game came out, me, second brother, and his now his wife Fleur, we can say her name. We were playing that game in the back room, and I remember second brother was like, "Hey, Jay, you want to go cut off the light in the living room?" I was like, "No, I'm not going." None of us wanted to leave the room. I was like, "No, I'm good.
Yeah,
don't tell me I'm good. I'm good back here with y'all." So the fact that you saw something so horrific, so groundbreaking, so today looking at it in hindsight, amazing. But knowing that this, having the background that this was kind of based off a true story, and the era where things were so, the naivete was great, and people weren't like they are today.
No,
people, where the hell did you get that nerve?
No, I know.
I couldn't have done it. I would have been scared.
Like I said, as a complete full adult and realizing the subject matter and how real it appeared. I don't know how I did that.
That's amazing.
But all I know is I ran home. He said, "You can come sleep with me." I was like, "No, I'm a big girl now. I'll go to my own place." But I suffered that night. I literally hid under my bed, and I'm not making that up.
Wow.
I was terrified.
Wow.
But the following week, I got all my stuff, and I went and stayed with second brother.
Okay. He was second brother's mother.
Right.
Right. You stay with them. Okay, that
Right.
is cool.
Right.
That I don't blame you. I mean, like I said, just to go home after seeing that, like, wow, that's. I mean, because that is like, I still think that that movie, even though there's another movie that scares me way more than The Exorcist. I mean, and that's Pet Cemetery. I'm terrified of Pet Cemetery, but for like different, that movie just messes with my subconscious. Really, it really does. But The Exorcist, it's funny, like I remember years ago when we were in Canada, we all took a family trip. And remember they did a reissue of it. They did like a so much for being here with me on this first show, this first episode. Guys, we're gonna be doing this. This is gonna be a show now. Mom has killed it. For her first stream, I think she has nailed it and done an excellent job. And hope you all like her stories. Like I said, this is story time with Mama Cousins. Before we leave, Mom, do you have anything to say? Anything you want to talk about or anything like that? Or
No, if people want to hear about my life's experiences growing up here in Washington, D.C., when it was a great city to grow up in, I have many stories
we
of
definitely
growing
gonna
up here in this city.
we
Good
definitely gonna talk
stories,
about them. We are
important
going to
parts
talk
of
about
life that I lived as a very young person. All types of different experiences, which now are history. But
exactly.
for me, they were real.
That's right.
So good night. I hope people enjoyed it.
And guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Storytime with Mama Cousins. Make sure y'all tune in to us next week, and we'll see you soon. And like that, my friends, we are out. Have a good one, guys.